Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Clear Cut Explainers. I'm Aabir Lahiry. This is a budget special for Clear Cut Explainers. In this podcast, we try to dig deep into a particular topic, and obviously, it's budget today. The Union Budget 2023 has been presented by our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. And like a quick disclaimer, I am not an expert in finance and economy. That is the sole reason I am in conversation with a gentleman who knows everything about this. Neeraj Thakur is the managing editor for Outlook Business. Welcome to the podcast. How are you, Neeraj?
Yeah, I'm good, Aabir. How are you?
Absolutely great. My first question to you will be, how would you define this budget? If you have to define this budget in one word, what will you say?
See, Aabir, I would say say that it's a typical conservative budget by a conservative government, because if you just see, even when BJP was not in power, they always used to criticize expenditure which was not meant to create jobs, or which was meant just under the label of social expenditure. So if you just look at the announcements today, this was Nirmala Sitharaman's last full budget as a finance minister in her term. She became finance minister in 2019. In a normal government, you would say, like maybe a liberal government like UPA, you would expect big bang, announcement for social sector schemes. So Manrega should have seen a rise, and so many other things under the health sector and all. But if you just look at Nirmala Sitharaman's budget, she has deducted money being allocated under Manrega. Instead of allocating 73,000 crore rupees like last year, she has allocated just 60,000 crore. And she has, but not compromised with the capital expenditure, which is the hallmark of Narendra Modi government over the last 9 years. That they believe that instead of giving money in the hands of poor, you rather create sources for them, you rather invest in resources where they can earn money. So it is the firm belief of Narendra Modi government that they want to invest in infrastructure in India, just like the US and other Western nations, so that we can promote industries, we can invite investment from foreign countries. And because India is trying to promote its Make in India campaign, and there has been this grievance from the foreign investors all these years that India does not provide good infrastructure. That's why they do not want to invest in India. And so you just see that there's a 33% hike in the capital expenditure, but that was not the case with most of the social sector schemes.
This investment, like more investment into the infrastructure, will certainly create more jobs, but that's a long run business. How do we deal with unemployment, which is actually the 11th hour issue? A lot of opposition leaders have certainly criticized the budget, saying that not enough attention has been given to the unemployment or Manrega.
So as I mentioned, Aabir, that Nirmala Sitharaman or Narendra Modi, they do not believe in generating employment through Manrega. If you just look at Shurjit Bhalla's article, who has been a votary of the policies of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he used to criticize Manrega even in 2013. And if you remember the first speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he came to power in 2014, he said that he will not shut down Manrega, but he will keep it alive, just as what do you say, as an example of flawed policies of UPA government. And that's what he has kept. Like, I mean, though data suggests that during COVID, it was Manrega that was feeding people. But now you would say that NDA government has been giving that kind of help to people by providing free ration to them, So, but they do not want to give that kind of cash, which has no return. Like it doesn't create any kind of infrastructure. It does create some sort of, those kacha roads and all those kind of things. Some bonds are also made. But that's not infrastructure kind of a thing. So Narendra Modi is going very, heavily behind. They're creating roads in Ladakh, they're creating roads in Northeast and everywhere, and that's his vision. Invest huge amount of money in infrastructure projects so that industry is able to invest in India, and which will create jobs in the long run, because everyone has accepted that there are no jobs in the short run. You have to live with this fact.
Okay. A lot of is being said about this budget ka badna, 5 lakh to 7 lakhs in income tax rebate. as an income tax exemption. The limit has increased from 5 lakh to 7
Yeah.
lakhs. How do you see it from an economic point of view? Because from the new tax regime, a lot of things have certainly changed. The tax slabs have changed. But
Right.
will it actually create a very big impact for a middle income group?
See, it's actually a loss for the middle income group, because you need to understand that people, especially the middle class people, they need to invest money for their old age, right? And the new tax regime does not give any rebate for investments. So under ATC, the middle class people used to invest 1.5 lakh rupees in different tax saving instruments. Now, because the government itself is pushing people out of the old regime towards a new tax regime, which does not give rebate of this sort, government is simply saying, okay, you are saving 1.5 lakh rupees over there, I'm giving you 2 lakh rupees more. But do not opt for old tax regime, you just come under this thing. But then there were other rebates also in that tax regime. People used to save money on tuition fee of their kids. That will not be allowed under the new. So there are so many things, but I think, and it is also a signal that perhaps government does not believe that investments were serving any purpose. India's household savings have been coming down drastically over the last 10 years. It is one of the lowest that we just saw last year. And I don't know, like, what kind of a policy is that, why the government wants this kind of, why the government wants to promote less savings on the part of the middle class. Perhaps the government believed that this kind of rebate was actually creating a sort of a distortion in the tax system of India, where people will produce fake bills and all these kind of things, to get those rebates. So the government is saying, you take a flat rebate from us, 7 lakh rupees, up to 7 lakh rupees, no income tax, plus minus here and there a few more things, and then you just pay a flat tax under the 5 tax slabs. So clearly, and this thing was started by previous finance minister, late Mr. Arun Jaitley. Also, he also reduced certain kind of rebates under the old tax regime only. So it's a new kind of approach towards personal finance of people. And of course, I would say that there is not much for those people who wanted to save money for their old age, because we need to understand that there is no social security in India.
I was about to come to that point.
So there is no social security in India. If you just look at now, why would somebody choose for insurance? Because India penetration of insurance is very low anyway in India, but at least people used to take it because it was actually anyway giving tax rebate. But if you are there in the new tax regime, there is no rebate for that thing. Plus, there is no incentive for the market-linked saving schemes also.
True.
So a lot of those things I would say that are bad for the middle class. But yeah, for youngsters, it could be a good thing, because they will just go out of this tax bracket. Someone just, under the salary bracket of 7 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, they will have almost zero tax. So yeah.
Which is fine, but you certainly have to save a lot for the cold winters. You don't have any, you are not encouraged to save.
So there is no, so there is no incentive for saving that thing. If you are a wise man, you will still save that money. I'll just give you an example. I was supposed to, put in some money under my PPF account. So I was just calculating, have I met that 1.5 lakh rupees limit or not? So because at the end of the day, that's human nature. You save things only if you are incentivized, and that's the reason. Something called EPFO was started just to force people to save money for their, that old age. That's why you are actually penalized for withdrawing money before that. If you you will not get those kind of tax benefits and all. The same thing goes for PPF also. But the government perhaps is this government has been against small saving schemes completely. If you just look at them, they have been reducing the interest rates under small saving schemes as well. So yeah, this is a very negative thing on the part of the government as far as savings is concerned, because India, as a $2,100 per capita income nation, does not provide social security to its people like the US government does. So there has to be some sort of incentives to people, and this tax regime does not favor that thing. And in fact, there is a saying that says that in India, if you fall in the higher tax bracket, like 30% tax bracket, you actually work 4 months in a year just to pay taxes. And that continues to be true.
Yep. Okay. Since we are talking about the millennials, you mentioned that a lot of people are falls under this bracket. This is my assumption that a lot of millennials are actually attracted towards digital rupee or Bitcoin,
Right.
crypto, esports. We were
Right.
expecting a lot to be included in this financial budget, which didn't come. Do you have a say on it? Like e-rupee, esports, these kind of things didn't get that kind of attraction.
See, the government is not in. So e-rupee, the government is in a pilot project. They have launched the pilot project. So government is not sure, like if it wants to promote it through tax rebates or something. As far as I understand, the government will take some time because we are not sure. The government is actually not sure how will this pan out. There could be there are technical glitches with regards to promoting e-rupee. Banks are doing a pilot right now. They are just doing bulk payments through e-rupee, but there are a lot of security issues that needs to be sorted out before the government starts promoting it. If you start giving tax rebate or some sort of a promotional incentive for that thing without having a system in place, it could backfire. So maybe by next year or so, things could be there. But rather than providing a tax incentive for some sort of a promotional activity around it, the government will just begin promoting e-rupee by maybe making payments under subsidy through e-rupee, at least to the urban population.
Okay, and also no address was given to technically cryptocurrency. It's a very big gray area.
So last year the government just put a 30% tax on any kind of profits without any provisioning for the losses. And the government stand remains clear that they do not want to promote cryptocurrency. RBI has been very clear on that. And so it remains status quo over there. And you see world over crypto markets are down. And they've destroyed public money completely. And the situation will remain the same at least for the next 2 to 5 years. See, crypto was a creation of hot money, which was being generated in the US because US Fed was printing dollars like anything. They did it like never before. So crypto was a creation of that. A huge amount of money was being created, which was unaccounted for. So of course, it had to be invested somewhere. It was being invested in crypto. It was completely a Ponzi scheme as it stood at that point in time. It continues to remain to be a Ponzi scheme because it had no underlying asset. Like crypto prices were shooting up without any underlying asset. There were no projects behind it. And even if they were, they had no value as such. You have seen fly-by-night operators. So many exchanges have gone bust. So Indian government has been very clear on that they do not want to make money out of crypto, and they want to dissuade that thing because anyway, like India is a very, very fragile economy by that sense. If X number of people lose money just under crypto, it can create that financial instability kind of a situation. Like India can face those situations. So India doesn't want. Like India has not been able to deal with stock market frauds,
crashes,
in 90s and all those years. It used to create so much a problem. Just imagine, a large number of people getting invested in crypto market and then facing that kind of a situation. So India stand on this is very clear. They want to kill crypto.
Which makes sense. Which makes sense. Yeah. Which makes sense. I am a layman who does not know very detailed about the economics and this and the country's economy. What is the major takeaway from the economic survey which was presented yesterday? If you can just give me like a chota brief of the entire.
So see, the economic survey is like, of course, like it's presented by the Minister of Finance, and they have suggested that India's true growth potential is about 7 to 7.
Hi.
Sorry, I think I got disconnected. Right?
No problem. Let's start with the economic. So, what are the major takeaways from the economic survey which was presented yesterday?
So the economic survey talks about the global headwinds that India faces, but they still say that with the help of India's domestic economy and India's focus on manufacturing and other key reforms in the infrastructure sector and other other areas, India should be able to deal with this period of uncertainty with a decent growth rate of above 6% and maybe less than 8%. So that's what India's growth potential is pegged at. And but the economic survey is very positive about India's prospects in the context of what is happening in the world affairs, in the global economy, because you see the US is likely to enter recession. A large number of countries in the West are entering recession. India remains a bright spot. and the economic survey plays on that. But it is also a recognition of the fact that we are not going to grow in double digits in the next 10 years, because now the global scenario is changing, and because this is the era of deglobalization, and countries are becoming inward looking, where they are just trying to promote their own industries. In that scenario, India will not have a chance like the kind of chance that China had in the 90s, to grow in double digits for 20 to 30 years. That may not be possible. But even at this rate, if India manages to grow continuously without, without getting any kind of shocks, I would say like the kind of shock that COVID gave to India, the kind of shock that demonetization gave to India, or the kind of shock that GST initially had given. Like GST is a different story. Pre-COVID and post-COVID. Post-COVID, our collections are going up. They are like all-time high, above 1.5 lakh crore. But pre-COVID, it was very bad. So if India manages to reap the benefits of all the reforms that have been done over the last 9 years by this government, I think it will be a decent growth rate. But yes, global headwinds remain there, and economic survey is very conscious of this scenario.
Okay. My last question to you will be like, will it actually impact the elections, like the next year election or the state elections?
This budget?
This budget?
I don't think so, because there is no focus on elections at all. I mean, Narendra Modi and Nirmala Sitharaman, they have not given anything for the social sector. They have done things that, if you just look at the language of Nirmala Sitharaman, she was very sounding very similar to what Manmohan Singh and P. Chidambaram used to sound during their last years, because this is the comparison. 2013 was their 9th year, and like 2023 is the 9th year of Modi government, and they were talking about inclusive growth. And Nirmala Sitharaman said many times, "Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas." It means the same, actually, just another way of saying. So they were talking about tribals, they were talking about EWS people, they were talking about marginalized sections, and but they did not give the kind of dole outs that a liberal government, I would say left liberal government, will say, because UPA was supported by it had people from left governments, because that was coalition government. This is also coalition government, but with a majority from the BJP, which is a conservative party. So the flavor and tone of the budget is very different from that of a UPA government. And I would say that this government is very clear that they do not want to compromise with GDP growth, even if it means that taking on more debt from the like India's debt to GDP ratio is now, I think it's around 80% or even above that. But they have increased that this government has taken that debt on its balance sheet simply to keep the investment rate high, because private sector was not investing all these years. Over the last 10 years, private capex has been very bad. This government has kept the engine of growth going by investing itself. And now they are expecting that this year and in the coming years, private sector will also start spending money, and it will give us the next leg of growth, which would be in the range of 6 to 8%, plus minus 1 to 2%, which could be like, if it's very bad, India can come down to 4%, very bad situation, but not below that. So some people say that we are going towards Hindu rate of growth. But I still believe that we are not going towards a Hindu rate of growth. Plus minus 2% will be there. So 6 to 8%, or at the most, like it could be 4%, but in a very bad year. Yeah, so 5% looks like our potential rate of growth, which is not very good. Like given our dreams of the past decade, we wanted to grow in double digits. But given the current global scenario, it would be good enough. Like if China is growing less than 5%, and it's an aging economy. And if India continues to grow at 6%, like this 1 to 2% edge over China will continue to make us being more attractive towards global investors, because China anyway, in the geopolitical war, they have fallen out of their relationship with America, and more and more. And for all the global investors, India remains the only nation which is democratic. Now, some critics might say that democracy is being compromised, but then investors, I don't think they look at democracy. They just look for money, return on investment. India continues to be that destination. Of course, we need to do some course correction because certain companies have been unhappy with the current regime, especially in the tech sector. Amazon has been complaining back in their head office that that India has created laws which actually differentiate between the foreign e-commerce companies and the Indian companies. But these issues can be managed. Amazon remains gung-ho about their investment rates, their investment plans in India. Whatever job cuts they have announced, they are part of their global job cut plans. I mean, because as things stand today, the world cannot ignore India simply because India is the only country which has such a large market. Our per capita income is very low, but still, the number of people that we have, it still offers a huge market.
And very much globalized.
Exactly. Yeah. And the world needs us. But I would say that, is this growth rate enough? Just growing between 5 to 7%? I don't think so. We will remain a very poor nation for many years. And unless and until we figure out a way to grow in double digits, at the most we can reach the income levels of Southeast Asian countries by 2050, which I don't know, like in dollar terms, what would it be like 25 years later? So ideally, because the kind of like sweet spot India was in over the last 20 years, we had everything. We had educated people. All we needed to do was just put in reforms at a very fast pace, which Modi government has actually managed to do this thing. But still, I think we were too late to introduce those reforms. And now that there is no globalization anymore, like there is now deglobalization, I think we have missed that bus, which is going to hurt us very much, especially the people at the lower end of the pyramid. Middle class will remain middle class. They may not be able to enter their, they will not be able to enter the high income class. Poor people will remain okay. They will be able to live a better life than what it was 20 to 30 years ago. But that level of that, when we look at, a lot of prime ministers and chief ministers of India, they say, I'll make India Sweden, I'll make India Singapore, I'll make India, Switzerland. That's not going to happen.
Will we be able to hit the bullseye of $7 trillion?
Yeah, definitely. That we will see. These $5 trillion, $7 trillion, $10 trillion doesn't matter unless and until we look at the time value of money, by when we become it. And by that time, what will be the value of money? See, we need to understand, even if we become the biggest economy in the world, right? US like China is $15 trillion economy. US is 19 to 21 trillion dollar economy. Somewhere there, we are a 3.1 trillion, 3.2 trillion dollar economy. So, like, what is a per capita income? Our per capita income is just $2,100, which is one of the lowest in the world. If you just look at emerging markets, ours is the lowest, which is a sad thing because an average Indian is much poorer compared to an average American, or average South Korean also.
True.
That's a problem. We are home to perhaps largest number of poor in the world. And that's the geopolitical fight. If you just look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whenever even Jai Shankar, Foreign Minister Jai Shankar, he says that, I have to look at the interests of my people whenever you're looking at geopolitics. And I think successive governments have failed to find that solution. Because first of all, our population is so high. Second, there's so many problems in India. The reforms, like since 90s, since the time of Narasimha Rao till Narendra Modi, every prime minister and finance minister has tried his best to implement those reforms. But somehow those reforms could not yield results, or they could just not be implemented because of the political economy of India. And that is going to cost us that that growth that could have taken us to that high income group level sooner than what it will be now.
सबको खुश रखना है, vote भी चाहिए, and that will certainly have
vote bank politics.
There's certainly a lot of implication on these reforms. हर चीज आप कर भी नहीं सकते. That is the problem.
Right.
On that note, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you very much for talking to ABP Live Podcast. It was wonderful to have your brain and to part your wisdom and knowledge to us. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Aabir.
Thank you, Neeraj. And that was Clear Cut Explainers on ABP Live Podcast. Thank you.